Hi, I'm Cindy Franklin. I am so honored to have been able to join Environmental Health Trust in this legal challenge against the FCC on behalf of my nonprofit Consumers for Safe Cell Phones. This saga for me began over 10 years ago, but this particular, the actions that led up to this lawsuit for me started 10 years ago when I flew out to DC and testified along with other wireless health and safety advocates before the Government Accountability Office. And they were putting together an investigative report at that time, 10 years ago, on whether the FCC exposure guidelines needed to be updated because many people were saying that they're 10 years old and they're potentially obsolete. The report came out in 2012. It was a scathing review of the lack of regulatory oversight at the FCC, in particular about not having reevaluated their exposure guidelines, and also specifically was mentioned the inadequacy of their testing protocols to test the safety of cell phones. So I think the most important ruling, the most important issue that I thought was addressed in this ruling was basically the ruling completely pulls the rug out from under the fundamental basis upon which the FCC exposure guidelines are founded, and that is an obsolete physics principle that only ionizing radiation like X-rays can harm people, and that microwave radiation is non-ionizing, and so the only harm is from the heating of tissue. So this ruling actually called that into question. So the very basis of the guidelines, which in essence, those who understand what the science, the independent science has been showing, thousands of studies over many years, over decades. Even our government had done studies in the past showing biological harm at levels hundreds and thousands of times below the current FCC guidelines that only take the heating of tissue into account. So what this means is that industry can no longer hide behind these guidelines because they're basically meaningless. And so Verizon, AT&T, Apple, Samsung, the CTIA, when they make confident statements assuring the public, assuring everyone that the exposure that we get from the wireless transmitters that are expanding into our communities closer to our homes and schools, when they claim that it's all safe because it falls within FCC, quote, safety exposure guidelines, it's all a lie. It's now exposed as a big lie. And when they hire scientists to show up at meetings and lecture the public about how this is non-ionizing radiation and it's been shown that it can't harm people, it's fine. And when they lie and say that the transmitters that are being installed on utility poles and lamp posts in communities are safe because they're under FCC guidelines, again, this has been exposed now as a lie, and the light is shown on that.